chapter 3, problem 46, and I'll do 45. So we did variance, and variance gives us some information, but we won't use it a lot. Now, I'll warn you that throughout this semester we'll be doing standard deviations often, and so getting some familiarity with how to do this is rather important. Okay, and it's one of those things that once you figure out how to do it, it becomes not all that difficult as long as you understand where you're going. What standard deviation is actually, it's simply the square root of the variance. Okay, remember we squared all of these numbers here to get this number, and we took the average then to get our variance. So if we take the square root of them, basically it gets us back to a number. Squaring it gets rid of the negative signs. Taking the square root gets it back to the number. What that tells us, and I'm going to use this as an example, if I took the square root of this, what would that be? 10, something like that. Okay. That tells us then that the average, the normal response from California was about 10 off from the mean, and that'd be a little over 10. On this one, it's what, 5.5, something like that. So the average response here was about 5 off from the mean, is kind of what standard deviation tells us. Okay, it becomes pretty important. We'll use it for a lot of calculations, a lot of problems throughout the course. So okay, so for 45 it says this: Plywood Inc. reported these returns on stockholder equity for the past 5 years, and it gives us the numbers. Consider these as population values. Okay, there's a little difference between, I think, a population standard deviation and a statistical sample standard deviation. So we put those in. It asks us to compute the range, the arithmetic mean, and the variance and the standard deviation. Okay, and so I've input the numbers. I do the max and the min, and I've certainly showed you how to do that. The range is simply the subtraction of the minimum from the maximum. Okay, the mean is simply the average of those, which we could again do pretty easily. Okay, so how do I then, I got to get the variance first. Okay, and from that point then I can get my standard deviation. So again, to do the variance, it's simply equal to this number minus my mean or average, which I want to hit the F4 key for, so that I get the dollar signs there, because then I can drag down my formula. Okay, and then I square it, right? I square that result basically to get rid of the negative numbers. So this is equal to my number from column D, shift 6 squared, use the 2, hit enter, there we go, and once again I can drag that down easily. Okay, then I would total that, so I'm going to get a sum of those. There it is, almost 33 is my sum. And then to get the variance, though, it's the average of these, right? Okay, or I could take the sum divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I can do this one either way. I can go, this is equal to the sum divided by 5. Okay, either way. Now to get the standard deviation, I simply take the square root of this number. Okay, there's two ways to do this. I'll show you both. I find doing it this way is just as easy. This is equal to this. Okay, hit my little tent, hit parentheses, and then 1/2 end parentheses, and that gives me the square root. Okay, there is a square root feature up here. If I go to the formulas, okay, let's go to statistical, alphabetical, so I should be able to come down to Oops, I don't know my alphabet. Where is it? Okay, maybe it's not under statistical. Maybe it's under just math and trig. And I could always do all if I couldn't find it. But here it says square root returns the square root of a number. Okay. What's the number? Click on that, hit enter, gives me the same exact number. Okay, so that's my standard deviation. So that says that the average of these responses is 2.57 roughly away from the mean. Okay, that's the average of the responses, or 2.57. Turns it into a positive number, so we don't worry about the negatives that we would have there. You know, otherwise we could kind of just take an average there. Okay, but that would goof things up. Okay, having the negative signs in there. So there you have it for problem 46.